Have the Marlins done it again? Valente Bellozo makes his Marlins debut, going 5 scoreless. Somehow they bring Bellozo back for Jacob Amaya based on his first appearance. It looks like the Marlins have found another stud, no doubt about it. Equally, there is some Bryan De La Cruz trade chatter starting to appear. As we approach the deadline, effectively anyone is available. Going to be a busy month. Going to be a busy show. This is Locked on Marlins.
You are Locked on Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked on Marlins. This is your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, of course, Peter Pratt. Hit me up at Miami Marlins _UK. Happy Thursday, guys. Welcome to the show. Reminder, this is your team every day. And thanks for making Locked on Marlins your first listen of the day. This podcast is available everywhere you get your pods. Make sure you leave a review. Of course, it's free everywhere as well, by the way. It's a free pod available everywhere. There is also a YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. Make sure you join me in the comments after every single episode. Tons to get into on Thursday's episode. We're primarily looking backwards in many ways, looking at Bellozo's debut against the Royals yesterday. The Marlins were well positioned. I thought they were gonna, I guess, go with the Arsenal, a 1-0 in the end. Unfortunately, the bullpen, Brazoban in particular, could not hold it. So Bellozo not getting the win on his debut, but was mightily impressive, particularly when you look at the box score. So we're going to get into that. Equally, looking at as well at Luis Arias, former Marlins stud. Everyone lost their minds when Arias was traded, including me. I lost my mind, but nevertheless, it looks like Arias having a little bit of a mini slump over in San Diego. Was Peter Bendix? Did he make the right call? Probably he did. I don't know. There's a lot of meat still left on this bone. Andrew Nardi is also starting to look real nice in the bullpen. And Bryan De La Cruz trade rumors, to me, seem to be popping up everywhere. Guys, there's tons to get into. This episode, though, is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Absolutely love that. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. More about those guys later on. Let's start with Bellozo's debut. I know if you have got the graphics, you will see that wasn't the number one item. But I want to start there because for me, that was probably the biggest talking point from yesterday. And reminder, this guy was acquired. So before yesterday, I have to call it out. I hadn't even heard of Bellozo, Valente Bellozo. I couldn't even pronounce Bellozo until our good man on Bali, Paul Severino. Starting to forget people's names now, man, oh man. But Paul Severino, I lent on him for his pronunciation. So thank you for Paul Severino for that one, going with the Bellozo. I get it. That's how you pronounce the double L's. I guess in advance of that, if it was without the prompt from Sev, I would have probably gone for Bellozo. It's probably the Italian version, isn't it? I guess. But nevertheless, Bellozo makes his debut. This guy was acquired in a trade with the Astros for Jacob Amaya. Reminder, Jacob Amaya was DFA'd. And as part of that, the Astros saw some value there and sent back Valente Bellozo as part of that deal. So I think I missed that at the time. I remember Amaya going, but I don't think I knew who came back, to be honest. So apologies. I mean, it's Locked on Marlins, right? I should be on top of every single news and note, but I wasn't on that one. So when Bellozo's jersey popped up, apart from trying to get the pronunciation correct, I was like, okay, who is this dude? Where did he come from? Et cetera, et cetera. It's fair to say, looking at his AAA numbers, you weren't going to be overexcited by his AAA numbers or anything he's done with the Marlins thus far. And so my expectations, and again, it was a UK-friendly game, guys. I don't know how this keeps happening on UK-friendly games, but, we get a look at someone new. Maybe my expectations were grounded, let's say, in terms of what I was expecting here. And it's fair to say, coming out of that game, 70-something pitches, 5 innings, scoreless ball, just 2 hits given up. I mean, what more could you ask for? Absolutely incredible. And the beautiful thing, unquestionably, he was fully into it, right? But equally, I love it when pitchers give off full emotion. Like, just imagine, you see Jazz's reaction, for example, when he hits a home run. You see when he hits a double or a triple. The excitement, the way the home run trot is crazy. Like, just imagine if Jazz was a pitcher. I mean, what would he be doing after every strikeout, after every inning? I don't know, but it's one of those where we come to expect that in many ways from certain types of hitters. Other hitters want to kind of like keep it super low and super cash and just trot around and it's just a home run. So what? I'm in the camp of I want celebrations, like hitting a home run and whatever. It's hard to do in baseball. I want to see players celebrate that. Like the goal of baseball is to score runs. And when you do that, you should be able to celebrate accordingly. So on the reverse of that for Bellozo, he was fully into the game yesterday and was celebrating basically after every inning, it was full pumps, everything was going on. I love to see that. He had his family seemingly in the crowd, cluster of maybe, 10 to 12. They were fully into it. I mean, every time the camera panned up to them in the stands, someone was recording at all moments. I mean, they must have run out of space on the iPhone. They were recording for probably an hour. Slightly less than an hour maybe, but fair play. What a moment for Valente. First Marlins appearance and 5 scoreless. I mean, unfortunately, is that sustainable? I don't know. Probably not. But what I would say, when I was watching the game, there was definitely some, for me anyway, there was definitely some Jordan Yamamoto vibes that I was kind of seeing in some ways. I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched Yams, but do you remember when Yams kind of got promoted and called up by the Marlins? And I think he went against the Cardinals in back-to-back starts, if my memory serves me correctly. But Yams was absolutely lights out against the Cardinals. I think when you look at the box score, you're like, whoa, okay. I think when you watch the games, like I did with Bellozo in this point, you can be kind of drawn into the box score, but when you watch what was happening, for me, I was feeling okay, it could go wonky at some point at any moment. It could go wonky for any pitcher at any moment, but there was definitely some Jordan Yamamoto in there. And remember how Jordan Yamamoto started. And then unfortunately for him, things kind of unraveled the longer he went with the Marlins and everyone else, and is now retired from baseball, I believe, from Jordan Yamamoto. I'm not sure I covered that either on Locked On Marlins. I mean, come on. What is this host doing? He's not covering any of the news, any of the trades, anything. I mean, what's the point of Peter Pratt? That has to be the question at this point, right? Nevertheless, we have to, as a fan base, celebrate any success. And for me, to have a guy acquired in a trade where you've DFA'd someone and to get them up to make their debut and for them to go 5 scoreless against, what is definitely a scuttling Royals offense at this point, you have to look at that as a huge success. I love the vibe. I love the aura he was giving off. It was fun. So the question will be do we see him next time around? I mean, there's a 4-game set against the Phils on deck here. I can't actually remember who the Marlins are playing after this 4-game series against the Phils. Again, what is going on with this host? Does Peter Pratt know anything? That is the question that I'm asking myself at this point. Let me just fast forward ahead here. The MLB app as well, by the way, for UK users has taken a huge step back in this year. For some reason, they're kind of trying to blend US times into days, and it all gets a bit messy. Anyway, the Marlins actually are at home against the Red Sox. So that could be his next start, which looks to be, I think, Tuesday, the 2nd of July, against the Red Sox at home. So that could be where we see Bellozo next. So wait to see. Should we expect 5 scoreless? Probably not. I mean, but the interesting part I thought yesterday was he was pulled from the game after just 5 innings. Considering where he was at, I mean, it was a close game. It was a 1-run game, obviously. And so I absolutely get why Skip went to the went to the pen and, get into his trusted relievers, let's say, to look to win the series. And it would have been 3 series on the spin. I feel like he had more in the tank, clearly. I think Paul Severino talking about it, saying like he stretched out to like over 100 pitches. So it would have been great to have seen him get the opportunity to go for a quality start in his first Marlins appearance. But it wasn't to be, but nevertheless, super encouraging. I know how to pronounce his name. What a start. I love the vibes. I love the aura. I love the family, just following around, just fully into it as well. I loved everything about that start. And how could you not? The question is how sustainable is it? But I mean, we'll worry about that next week. We'll worry about that one next week. Don't worry about it for now. We're walking away seeing this one as a real nice success. Tons more to get into on today's episode, guys. Before we do that, firstly, I need to tell you about our good friends over at Tax Network USA. Yes, sir. And here on Locked On Marlins, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collections season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, or even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. They have over 14 years of experience as well, and an A-star rating by Better Business Bureau, the Triple Bs. Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Reminder, $1 billion saved in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in this episode description below. And this episode is also brought to you by our good friends, very good friends, and my favorites, eBay Motors. Yes, sir. And passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether into speed, power, or style. eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, guys, welcome back to Locked On Marlins on Thursday, the 27th of June. The Marlins, unfortunately, couldn't seal the series win against the Kansas City Royals. They gave it a real good go, though. Going into the 8th inning, 1-0 up. Unfortunately, Huascar Brazoban did not have his finest outing. He's been effective since returning from his visa issues that were resolved. He has been effective for the Marlins, no doubt. This was by far his worst outing. Came in the 8th inning. Andrew Nardi set him up well in the 7th inning. Equally, Anthony Bender had a little bit of trouble, worked out of that, et cetera, et cetera. All good. The bullpen has definitely been better. I mean, it couldn't be any worse since the start of the year, but it's definitely been better of late. And with the Marlins up 1-0, the Royals offense looking significantly below par, I would say, this whole series, to be honest with you. I was really underwhelmed by the Royals in general, but they pieced it together when it mattered in the 8th inning, blow up Brazoban, and unfortunately a blown save that took away a series win for the Marlins. It would have been their 3rd series win on the spin. That would have been the Royals. It would have been the Mariners. It would have been the Cardinals. All these clubs significantly over 500 or are hovering around in the Cardinals sense. So it's a really good indicator for this Marlins group. And I did kind of tweet something out yesterday that was met with, negative feedback, let's say. And what I was trying to say is that, the Marlins are here with no rotation at this point. Like, they are, again, Bellozo debut. Expectations super low. He's going 5 scoreless against the Kansas City Royals at this point. A couple of games over 500. The Marlins are winning series in back-to-back fashion with 0 rotation at this point. No Sandy, no Yuri, no Luzardo, no Cabrera, no Sixto, no Braxton Garrett, no Brian Hoeing. None of them. None of them. And the offense is still not good for the Marlins. Like, it's obviously it's pretty underwhelming. But there's been a few bright sparks in there recently, I'd say. But for the Marlins to be winning these series against these contenders with effectively no rotation has blown my mind. And it just makes me think. I always think, I'm always questioning. I'm asking questions and thinking about things and trying to think things through a different lens. But, if you're the Cardinals, the Mariners, and the Royals, all these clubs are like in the mix this year. Like, they're getting beaten by the Marlins in the main at this point. Like, how much of this, how much of a talent gap truly is there? How much of baseball is luck rather than talent? Like, how is it weighted? Because you look at the Marlins last year and everyone pointed to it to say, this is luck. The Marlins are lucky. For the Royals right now, are they lucky to be over 500? I know they've got a decent enough young rotation and the offense. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. clearly is an absolute stud. The funny thing was, people came back were like, Pete, how can you even compare the talent that the Marlins have on their roster versus any of these clubs when Bobby Witt Jr. is effectively more talented than any of the Marlins? The other point I was trying to call out there was, it isn't just the active roster right now for the Marlins. I'm saying, I'm baking in Sandy Alcantara, Yuri Perez, Jesus Luzardo, Braxton Garrett, Eddie Cabrera, all into that calculation. The Marlins have plenty of talent. They absolutely do. Most of it does reside on the pitching side. But these clubs, when I'm watching the Royals, I'm watching their offense. And their offense was terrible. It was terrible in this series. They had 0 threat, other than maybe Bobby Witt Jr. 0 threat. This club is over 500 at this point. This just shows you pitch well, you get some luck, you're in the mix. And how do I know that? Because I saw it directly last year with the Marlins. You pitch well, you get some luck, a timely knock here and there, and you got a nails pen. That's what it comes down to. It really does. And so it was eye-opening to me. It really opened my eyes where these clubs that are performing well, the Mariners as well, the Cardinals as well. Again, the Cardinals offense struggling. Mariners offense has been struggling all year. All these clubs that we just faced in the past 3 series, all of their offense is struggling. And I think that's the funny thing. When the Marlins face off against these organizations, these clubs that are doing okay, but they have a similar makeup to the Marlins where they're led by the rotation. The offense is a little bit under par, but they're finding ways to win. This is the funny thing for the Fish. I know I've been pretty down on what 2025 could look like, but if all of a sudden the rotation is fully back, including Sandy, Yuri, Luzardo, Brax, the rotation's fully back. I mean, wait to see what they do in terms of moves, but what's to say that the Marlins, the 2023 luck, couldn't return? Could the Marlins go on another run in 25? And I think that's where it goes back to me, where I was just a little bit underwhelmed the fact that the Marlins wanted to move Arias at this point, considering Sandy's out, and Yuri's out. Could they not have deferred that situation maybe to next year? But for Luis Arias, he went to the Padres, he made an immediate impact. A lot of highlight reels for Luis Arias. All of a sudden, feels like things have gone cool. Feels like he's cooled off. It's gone a bit quieter for Luis Arias. And so, was that the expectation? Maybe, maybe not. But, I mean, one of the main topics around that was if he regresses to 300-ish hitter or sub 300 hitter, are you going to be paying the guy what he's maybe expected to earn in 25, maybe even not. That's kind of the point. Like if you can't afford it, you maybe think, actually, we're gonna non-tender Luis Arias. Absolutely wild scenes. So I'm going to carry on that conversation. You can want to talk about Bryan De La Cruz, who is equally garnering some trade buzz. But before we do that, let's let you know about our brand new friends. Yes, sir. This episode of Locked On Marlins is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. Absolutely love that. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rivals' cities. And with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival's city. Yes, sir. So Booking.com, I can absolutely speak to. I mean, I was only just down for the London series a few weeks back. As always, for me anyway, I left it late. I definitely left it late in terms of booking accommodation. No doubt about it. And so Booking.com is my go-to place. If I'm thinking about hotels, I'm thinking about accommodation, I'm thinking about that. And in London, there's a lot of choices, but equally, like, location is king in London. And so I wanted to make sure that I was in the right spot so I can get to the ballpark. See how I use that? That's the right language. Get to the ballpark in London Stadium. So I minimized the amount of travel I had to have across the city. It's a big city, and it can be warm, no doubt, in the summer. So I wanted to be close. So Booking.com was where I went to. Nailed a great deal right by 2 weeks before the games itself. So absolutely perfect, guys. So from hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the US for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any US city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or on the Booking.com app. All right, guys, this episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at LinkedIn. Yes, sir. Where is the graphics for LinkedIn? There we go. Nailed it. So are you struggling to close deals? B2B selling is tougher than ever, and that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. I use LinkedIn Sales Navigator every single workday. I'm in sales, so it makes a ton of sense, but I manage relationships, sizable relationships, and finding the right people to speak to about the right issues is absolutely core to that. I remember pre-LinkedIn, when I was like 20. It's like 20 years ago. The old days were ring the reception, ask who's responsible for whatever it might be. It would be relatively inefficient, very inefficient, and ineffective. Luckily now we've got LinkedIn to help navigate through all these organizations, find the right people, no doubt about it. So I can't recommend Sales Navigator highly enough, no doubt. So right now you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon. That's for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. Final segment here on Locked On Marlins. Thanks for making it your first listen of the day. I'm the host, of course, Peter Pratt. So we're talking trades and trade buzz. Bryan De La Cruz, for me, all of a sudden, I'm hearing multiple teams and fan bases on Twitter starting to talk about Bryan De La Cruz as a potential option. I also went on to the Locked On Reds show earlier this week, and Jeff Carr, host of Locked On Reds, said to me, Pete, I'm liking the look at Tanner Scott. I was like, great, Jeff. Everyone likes to look at Tanner Scott. He's an absolute stud. You're on the right path. He then called out to me. He was like, the Reds were looking for a righty stick that has some power, a decent arm. We're not too bothered about the range in the ballpark. I feel like Bryan De La Cruz is a really nice fit. Equally, 3 more years of club control on Bryan De La Cruz. And I've then seen something about the Pirates, thinking about it. All of a sudden thinking, maybe there's more buzz around Bryan De La Cruz than I anticipated. And I think it's not recency. It's not the right way of phrasing it. It's the fact that we see Bryan De La Cruz every day. Maybe we undervalue him in some ways. Maybe there's something in that. But I think when you strip away like the situation with De La Cruz, like what Jeff described in terms of what the Reds were after, a guy with a decent arm. Okay, the range isn't amazing, but a power stick, and he is that from the right side. When he gets hot, he really does get hot. And he's mashing bombs everywhere. He's having a good year. 3 years of control, so he's not even into arbitration at this point. And so I am intrigued to see whether there is a market for Bryan De La Cruz. The Marlins will listen on everyone, but I guess going back to that point I made earlier, considering what the rotation will look like in 25, guys like De La Cruz, which cost-controlled, Jesus Sanchez, cost-controlled, Jazz Chisholm Jr., relatively cost-controlled. I'm very interested to see about Jazz this deadline, but equally into the offseason. But, those 3 guys, they're going to have to supplement that clearly. But, I'm interested to see, do the Marlins maybe hold on to a few more pieces at this point, knowing that 25 could be interesting, and knowing what we're seeing around Major League Baseball at this point, a good rotation and a kind of bang average offense can be effective. I mean, we saw it in 23. I know the farm still needs work, and so listen, there's guys they have to move in Tanner Scott and Josh Bell at this point, but the guys with multi-years of control, like De La Cruz, like Jesus Sanchez, are the Marlins realistically going to entertain conversations around them at this point? That's, I think, a very interesting question for Peter Bendix. I think he'll naturally say, listen on everyone. And if the right deal comes along for the right player, they'll always pull the trigger. So we'll wait and see. But the Bryan De La Cruz trade buzz definitely caught me a touch off guard. I think we maybe undervalue him. It's just, because we see him so frequently. And as always, you kind of dream on the new toy, right? And Bryan De La Cruz has been around a while, but he's proven to be relatively effective, I would say. I feel like he's having a decent year this year. He looks to be, one of the trusted offensive guys. I do wonder if DHing has helped him a touch, actually, as well, getting him off his feet a little bit more frequently out from left field. So we'll wait and see on that one. But I think there's going to be, as we head into July, it's going to be, Locked On Marlins is going to effectively be, a glorified trade channel. It's going to be so many rumors flying around. I think the one disappointing thing is that the trade simulator now is behind the paywall. And so, in years gone past, you just have so many trade proposals flying around with values aligning because, well, this guy's underwater. He's an absolute stud, but it's an underwater contract. And so we're going to put him in here. And you just get some wild situations. I think now it's behind a paywall. It's going to be less of that, but it won't stop the proposals. We just won't be using Trade Simulator or BTV as the way to measure it. But nevertheless, it's going to be fun. I think from a Marlins perspective, I'd say these last 10 days have given me a little bit more hope about 2025, to be honest with you, because I'm seeing teams out there that have similar offensive deficiencies that are definitely in the mix this year. And that makes me think, okay, what could this offense actually look like in 25? How much of the pitching is going to be around? That's, yet to be known. But I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic about it. Luis Arias seems to be kind of regressing a touch in San Diego. Not to say I wish him, bad luck or anything with Arias, but, maybe Bendix has nailed that one. Clearly, it won't come. Unfortunately for Bendix, the optics aren't amazing at this point. It's hard to get super excited because, well, Dylan Head's effectively being acquired injured and is now out for the rest of the year. The 2 other guys in AA haven't really done anything other than a first couple of at-bats were good. So way too early to judge that one. I do think Bendix will be judged, forever within his Marlins tenure around the Arias deal. But it's interesting that Arias has fallen back a touch. And considering the money that he may be owed in arbitration, it's interesting to track Arias' progress to see whether he ends up actually a free agent after this season, which would be absolutely wild if that were the case. We're bang out of time, guys. I just want to signpost and apologize for yesterday. I did say there was going to be a double episode with the UK GOAT. Unfortunately, the UK GOAT was dragged into some work commitments that he hadn't anticipated. So it meant that we couldn't make it happen. He's busy the rest of the weekend, but we've committed to making sure that he's on the show next week. So we're looking forward to that one. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's been a fun debut from Bellozo, as I'm going to call it, but Bellozo. 5 innings, 0 runs given up, just 2 hits, dazzling. Let's wait to see if it's sustainable. Unfortunately, the Marlins couldn't get the win against the Royals, but Nardi is looking nice. Tanner Scott's looking nice. A lot of the bullpen arms starting to look nice. Bryan De La Cruz garnering some trade buzz. So we'll wait to see if he's the type of name the Marlins end up moving at this deadline. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, guys.